Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about specifically why smart bidding or automated bidding strategies will outperform manual bidding strategies within Google Ads and Bing Ads. I just made a video. My very last video was talking about how and when specifically to use automated/smart bidding strategies versus manual or enhanced CPC bidding. There's a specific time and a place where smart bidding strategies work better, not always, but generally always in the context of at some point in your account it will make sense. Namely, you have at least 10 to 100 conversions in your account. What this particular video is going to actually get into specifically why the smart bidding actually does better than your manual bidding, even if you're hugging the manual bidding because it gives you more control, which it certainly does. You want to really reconsider that, and particularly as Google things have changed, drastically with Google and how good their machine learning algorithms are and how good they are at using data, particularly abundance of data, and getting you results beyond what you could get yourself with manual bidding, even if you're doing manual bidding with all the fixings of what it can actually, what are the options with actually doing optimization fully with manual bidding. So anyway, with all that said, I will tell you about all that. I'll give you a couple pieces of actionable advice on what you can do to make your campaigns better, of course, not just to give you some theory here. And with that, you should be able to make some more money from in the information I'm providing you overall. Or of course, if you're not using smart bidding yet, this will make you a lot more money, given that you'll actually, of course, want to go ahead and do that. But if you are also not doing smart bidding, you should definitely look at my previous video where I go over in detail the exact strategies I use to go from manual bidding to smart bidding, exactly when and where you should use it, how to maximize your results out of it, and why you want to do it specifically. So anyway, we'll go more into why you want to do it specifically on this video. For a long time, manual bidding for us, and us being our PPC agency, Guaranteed PPC, where we manage and have about 50 clients at any one time, and is the context and the base of all the information I give you on this channel revolves around. The manual bidding was a lot more efficient than smart/automated bidding strategies. Because, like I just got done telling you a minute ago, that the algorithms weren't as good as they are now. Now it's getting to the point where the algorithms you just can't compete with the algorithms in terms of having the bidding set up where you're doing manual bidding versus the automated bidding, okay? With that said, the reason why smart bidding outperforms manual bidding, even if you take advantage of all it offers, is for the following reasons I'm going to give you here. And when I say everything it offers, of course, we're talking about bidding on the keywords itself, and you can look at the keywords and then the cost per conversion or the ROI on a particular keyword, and you can adjust your bids up and down. Of course, you can also adjust your bids specifically on different levels, which this is a little bit outside the realm of the actual smart bidding itself, but on the device level, on the what market or geographic market that you're in, and using similarly a bid adjustment strategy, you can adjust based upon a certain state or a certain device producing above or below the average or above or below the target cost per conversion you want. You can adjust your bid so that you're getting more of what's already working and getting you profit, or of course, or just in general what's not working as good, so you can walk the performance of your account as a whole up. Or if it's producing below average, so you actually tell Google you're willing to pay less for this state, this device, this time of the day, so on and so forth. So the action you do get from that part of your search campaigns, you're actually getting it still at a less of it, but at a profitable rate. If you find out mobile traffic's worth a third what desktop traffic is, and you bid a third for the as much for the mobile traffic by doing like a negative 70% bid adjustment on mobile, well, you'll get less traffic, but the traffic you get on mobile is now profitable like desktop is. And therefore, you get more overall profit from your account because you're not just arbitrarily shutting down certain aspects of your account. You're bidding at the rate in which each individual aspect of your account will perform for your business. And, of course, with that, you'll maximize the profit you can make from Google ads and if you want to include Bing ads as a whole, because they operate the same way. Now, there are small micro trends in search behavior that can't be adjusted for with the manual bidding and using the kind of bidding modification that I mentioned that we used to do. Universally, every 90 days, we would go through the entire account on each level, time of the day of the week, what state the user's from, or what zip code or city the user's from if we're talking about local businesses. What age the user is, what gender the user is, the parental status of the user, the income of the user, the device of the user, the keyword of the user, and sometimes even more than that. And we would use that bid adjustment formula, which tells us what to bid, either more or less, based upon that particular sub-metric delivering a below or average cost per conversion or ROI, so that the overall part of the account that's not producing as well as the average, we're doing less of, take the saved budget, reallocating it to the part that's doing above average, and then we could overall, like I said, walk up the performance of the account on an ongoing basis and do it very well, particularly as most people that run Google ads, they don't worry about adjusting their bids on the state level or the gender level, which that stuff actually gave us a pretty good edge. If they use smart bidding, they do, of course, but not everybody uses smart bidding. And respectively, smart bidding if you don't have a lot of data, smart bidding isn't going to give you an advantage either, as I talked about in my previous video. Anyway, with all that said, that having not just bidding on XYZ keyword, or doing less or more of that keyword, or not doing that keyword, or doing that keyword. If you look at people who search for that keyword, and you then are able to sub-segment, you're willing to pay this much if they're from California typing in this keyword, and you're willing to pay this much if they're from Massachusetts and they type in this keyword, to get more out of that keyword overall, because obviously then you're able to you're just able to get more out of a particular keyword doing that. Because if you look at the keyword as a whole, you don't want to, if all of California and that keyword's profitable and Massachusetts is not, obviously what you want to do is take down Massachusetts and leave California alone. You will get more out of that keyword that way doing that. And then when you add time of the week, day of the week, or time of the day, day of the week, weekend or versus weekday, device users on, age, gender, income level, and so forth and so forth and so forth, which you can actually, with Google, you can sub-segment down in 1,000 different ways that you want. High school graduate, dog lover, so forth and so on, using the audience menu, by the way, which I talk about specifically in other videos on this channel. Of all those sub-segmenting that you can do, where the real magic comes in is when you can actually, and this is something that also directly applies to display advertising through Google Display Network, through Facebook ads, when you could target somebody on, so basically display advertising, just to clarify, that's advertising done outside of search engines, okay? As a whole, just to keep it general. The display advertising, as I've mentioned on this channel, where the really good results come in, everything with display advertising is about narrowing down the targeting enough to where you've narrowed down targeting so much that what's left is just your buyers. And that comes in handy. I mean, you could certainly do that. And of course, and not narrowing down so much that there's not very many people left to target. But generally, where that happens is not just going after somebody who has this interest, but this interest and did this, and has this also, this interest as well, and did this. And you have 2 to 4 different things that they had to do in conjunction all together. And if they did all those things together, For instance, if you're trying to sell granite countertops to somebody, if somebody was searching for granite countertops recently, that's great. But when they search for them and they've also indicated that they are in the process of moving, we know the statistical likelihood that that person is going to end up ordering the granite countertops is 10 times higher than if they were just looking at granite countertops ideas as a whole. And that's kind of what it is, and this is a real scenario where we would ran a display campaign and set up something through Google Display Network to work, and I also talked about on this channel before. And so with that, what you're trying to do is line up things that you know about your buyer that if they did them all in conjunction, there's enough of a footprint or signature there that you know pretty much they're gonna buy. There's a 50% chance that they're gonna buy from you or somebody in your market, and then therefore that's the time that you want to waste money going after them and just try to do at that point anything you can do to get them to click through the ad, because you know a 50% chance they're going to be buying something from you or your market, and you want to shoot your shot at them, and therefore then you can be profitable with your ads. Well, this also applies to search engine advertising as well, in that basically there's certain, if a user is, searches for this keyword and specifically they're searching at 8 p.m. at night, that gives us, like I said before, gives us a lot more information and about how profitable that person is going to be. And so we can basically try to look at to see if we should advertise on such and such keyword, but also try to look at, should we advertise during the daytime or at nighttime? Because if we do both, look at both of those things, we're actually going to be able to get more sales out of a particular group of people searching for a select product or service in a market that way. And going further, like I was talking about before, the more things you kind of stack up that a person has to do in conjunction, the more you're going to be able to get out of a set market of people. There's only so many people searching for your product or service in your market. The more you're going to get at the margin or cost per conversion or ROI that you can get. And so when you do the specific targeting, so like with manual bidding, what we would specifically do, as in terms of being able to adjust the bids on each time of the day, we would do universally midnight to 9 a.m., 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 5 p.m. to midnight. And so with that, we can decide what we're going to bid on each keyword. But then we can decide how much we're going to bid based upon them being in that certain part of the day. And we actually did it Monday, midnight to 9 a.m., 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday, 5 p.m. to midnight Monday. And then the same thing for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as a way to be able to get more out of the available people, given that we have to hit a certain cost per conversion to be profitable after all our product expenses, service expenses, and so forth. With the smart bidding, they're able to take this to the next level, essentially. And with that, they can look at not just from 5 p.m. to midnight, because we could, through manual bid adjustments, like I was talking about before, how we do that, we look at 5 p.m. to midnight, how that's performing. Is it above or below average, or is it at our target conversion or less? We'll adjust the bid up or down based upon how well that particular sub-segment of our campaign is doing as a whole. Smart bidding can look at things like, within the 5 p.m. to midnight, is there sub-trends within there? Is there, what time does the sales really start to drop off? Of the 5 p.m. to midnight, where's 80% of the sales coming from? Oh, it's coming from 5 to 8 specifically, or 5 to 7. Okay, so after 7 p.m., the bids actually should be 50% less going into midnight. And so with that, the smart bidding figures this out. Of course, has to have enough data to do so, but then can actually make an adjustment for that. So again, we're getting the most that we can out of our keywords, and specifically by making more and more subdivisions of our keyword traffic, if you will, to be more and more granular about what we're doing, to the point where we're just able to get more and more out of a set keyword and a set market and people searching for a set amount of keywords in our market, if that makes sense. Now, this is proven actually by PMax. PMax campaigns are new. You probably know about them already. They're supposed to be the campaign that's, if you want to call it end-all campaigns, they're supposed to be a search campaign, a shopping campaign, a YouTube campaign, a discovery campaign, a display campaign, all in one, right? And I don't believe in using one campaign for everything at all, which I'm going to make a video about that soon. But why I bring that up is if you've seen PMax, if you have one, you could go into your PMax campaign in the overview section, and you can see how through PMax, which is automatically set up with smart bidding, because it only has smart bidding itself, how Google, through that PMax campaign, subdivides the traffic to get more and more granular and through the more and more data that it gets. You can only go so granular when you only have so much data, but the more data you get, the more granular you can get. So at first, Google doesn't have a lot of data, so their machine learning and smart bidding algorithms aren't very good, and you're generally better off having manual biddings to keep things kind of in check, as I talked about in my last video about when to transition over to smart bidding. As you get a decent amount of data, they can start to look at not just the certain keywords that the ad should show up for, but the certain times of the day and certain device and so on and so forth, like I was talking about. Once you get even more data, they can start to look at not just what time of the day, i.e. afternoon, night, but what specific times at night are where you're getting the above average results at, and then how, specifically making sub adjustments for that. In the PMax campaign, going back to that, in the overview section, it tells you the specific adjustments that it's making to give you an example of how their algorithm's actually working. And I pretty much knew this before I saw this going on in PMax, but once I saw this in PMax, I knew I had to mention something about that on this channel. What I have here is real examples, if you haven't had PMax, where you can see how this is working. The smart bidding algorithm, how it's adjusting the campaign. So it's constantly able to get you more and more profit from your campaign, more ROI from your campaign. If you're going for more ROI at the particular time instead of just more sales itself to get more profit, then, and this was from a client that sells a paint product. It's a B2C paint product that we're talking about here. Specifically with that, okay, we had the following so-called recommendations or basically the adjustments that the PMax campaign's making to the campaign in order to get that ROI up at the time, which is what the campaign's set to do. The ROI is set higher than the actual ROI, so the campaign's trying to sub-segment the account, because that's where all the results come from. Sub-segment, sub-segment, sub-segment. You sub-segment enough, and the more you do it, with the more data you have, the better results are going to be for all the reasons I said earlier. And with that PMax campaign for that paint seller's account, here are the exact things that the algorithm is doing to get the ROI up. And I'm going to read those off to you as examples of what's going on and how specifically, like I said before, when you start stacking up things, looking at time of the day is great, but looking at device and time of the day together to where maybe after 9 o'clock is good, but specifically if you look at after 7, between 7 and 9, if they're on a tablet, but not on a desktop device, it's still good. So instead of excluding everything, I kind of misquoted that. We'll say everything after 5 o'clock in the afternoon isn't very good. The cost per conversion is lower than average. You could just lower the bid for after 5 p.m. But what if you figured out on tablet specifically, because you sub-segmented by device looking after 5 p.m., the tablet, the cost per conversion is still good. It's still at the cost per conversion we want, whereas desktop and mobile device, it's not. So then you could just downgrade the mobile device and the desktop device and leave tablet, and then you have more conversions you can get than if you would have just only looked at things obtusely and just got rid of everything after 5 p.m. or more realistically downgraded the bidding for after 5 p.m. So you're getting less traffic, you're getting just a trickle of the traffic you did, but at least the traffic's getting you, because it's cheaper, the ROI that you want. And so that's what Google's algorithm's doing with smart bidding, and you can see that here. The first so-called recommendation that they were giving here was on the device level. They said on desktop specifically, and specifically within the time weekdays between 9 and 5 p.m., that we should be bidding more. So again, this is done on 2 levels. You can only do, to a degree, through manual bidding, you can do things on 2 levels, but specifically, they're combining the 2 levels together. So you're not just looking at desktop, you're not just looking at the keyword, or you're not just looking at the device, and you're not just looking at the time of the day, but you're looking at what on desktop specifically, what the bid should be during different times of the day, if you follow my point here. So they were able to do what we can't do, just because it's the amount of work that would be necessary is not doable. We can't set a campaign up just for desktop and then adjust the bid for different times of the day for just desktop, because we would need a lot of campaigns. And even if we did, right, we could only also go so far with it. We probably could just do a bid adjustment for, midnight to 9 a.m., 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 5 p.m. to midnight again. Whereas the algorithm, once it starts to figure out if 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. is good, then they can start looking at 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then 11 p.m. to 1 p.m. and then keep sub-segmenting with the more data they got coming in that you are capitalizing. You spend money, half the value comes from the data you're getting, half the value is coming from the immediate sales, because the data is going to tell you how to get more sales in the future. You have to pay for data to be able to have an account that's going to be able to cash out for you in the future. That's how the game works a lot. Your goal is to get to profitability as quickly as you can, knowing that, because after that, your account's going to be able to just be a money machine for you. It's going to consistently walk up the profit it's making for you, just working off of the data, the accumulating data that you have coming in. So anyway, that's one example of what Google's able to do with the smart bidding algorithm to make your account performance actually better. The second recommendation they had was on a query level. They said a specific type of paint. I put XXX here because I can't give away the client's exact product, but certain type of paint and device, mobile phones. So in other words, when they and this isn't even at the keyword level. When we were doing bid adjustments, manual bid adjustments using enhanced CPC bidding, I didn't use manual bidding for a long time, because enhanced CPC bidding was, doing better, particularly as you're using some of the Google's machine learning algorithm to identify of your keywords, what are the people that are typing in red shoes that are worth bidding for and which ones are not, i.e., did they click on these websites before they start, searched for red shoes? If so, they're more likely to buy, therefore our ad should show up for that, versus if they did these other actions and then search for red shoes. We know statistically from past data that does not convert well with a person with that specific set of subtraits of previous search behavior, because they track all their users, and they'll all be able to get you more conversions at your cost per conversion that way, doing that. But we're able to modify the bidding on the keyword level. What Google's doing with the smart bidding is looking at the query levels. In other words, the search terms. You have your keywords is what you bid on. Your search terms are what people physically type in. And if you go to your search terms report, you can't do this on to a degree you can through PMax. But if you go through your search campaigns, you go to your search terms report, you can see all the things people typed in, but you can't adjust your bid on each one of those search terms unless you made the search term a new keyword. Then you could. But they're looking at the search term level with this thing. And so when people type in one very specific search term of many search terms that come up for one specific keyword that we're bidding on, they found that one specific search term, and they found out if somebody is on a mobile device and they search that one specific search term, we should be bidding more for that exact opportunity. And so it gets to more so when you're accumulating a lot of data about specific opportunities. Oh, this guy, we know that he went to this website before he made this search, which anybody goes to this website before they make the search for this keyword. They're 4 times more likely to buy. And when he's on a desktop, he's another 4 times more likely to buy. So this person's actually 16 times more likely to buy than the average person that isn't on a desktop device or isn't on a mobile phone or whatnot, and is not on and did not search this specific search term specifically, but searched for another search term. Therefore, your ad should show up over somebody else's ad, or it should show more prominently, or in general, of what you show up for, that's the opportunity you should show up for versus other opportunities where you could show up for people searching for the general keywords and market with, from what you're in. And with that, there's something called search impression share. You never show up 100% for all your keywords. Google's trying to find out if you should show for a certain person at any given time based upon a lot of the stuff that I was telling you about. And they determine if you should show based upon the traits of that person and past data that you have. And so as you get enough data, then they now figured out there's a great opportunity anytime someone's typing in this exact term on a mobile device, because they're now 16 times more likely to buy. Of the times that you're possible to show up for, you should show up here, but not here. And then you basically just build up a list of opportunities that if a certain person comes through, you're showing up, and if they're not, they're not. And with that, they can get you higher ROI, the more opportunities they know about versus not know about. So you can kind of get my point here. They're able to look at things on a more micro scale than you can do, even with a very heavy manual bidding approach where you're actually trying to adjust your bids on all these different levels. They could just go beyond what you can do as a human being. There's other recommendations they had. Now, not all of these will be on 2 different levels like this. And so with that, they recommended if they type in this specific query, we should bid more, which they're just doing that on their own. If they're from Massachusetts, we should bid more. If they're searching weekdays after 8 p.m., we should be bidding less. If the person's searching on the weekends after 4 p.m., we should be bidding less. And you can see how we keep going. They're literally looking at things on a specific search term level. They're looking at things on a specific time level, down to the hour with this. So again, it's just too much logistical. It's too much of a logistical nightmare to manually adjust your bids this way. And so, whereas you could, because you have little data, you can't possibly know down to the hour how to adjust your bids. Once you get enough data to where you can, that's the time when Google should take over, and you should be able to use that data with Google, given their algorithm will let you use it. That's the reason why you use smart bidding. Okay? So that pretty much spells out what smart bidding's actually doing and why you want to be doing it and why it'll get you more results. Now, with all that said, if you have similar products, you can have one campaign with all your keywords and do okay when you're using smart bidding, because things become universally true, i.e., after 4 p.m., people that are searching for tennis rackets, they usually don't convert very well. You could be promoting 100 different tennis rackets in this campaign with a lot of different terms, but they're all related to tennis rackets. So the search behavior of when people buy and what device they buy on and what keyword they type in when they buy, it somewhat stays consistent. As it pertains to if you sell multiple products that are very different from one another, like if you're selling tennis shoes versus tennis rackets, these products are significantly different from one another. What I would say is you should definitely always have a search campaign for tennis shoes and a search campaign for tennis rackets. Most of you guys already probably know that and want to do it just from organizational reasons. But I'm telling you, you want to do that from the standpoint that when Google analyzes these sub-metrics that I'm telling you about, they can do it more efficiently when basically all the keywords in the account kind of perform in a similar way. They all kind of do better on one device versus another, and one type of or set of keywords that have these certain keywords in it or certain words in it kind of do better, and this certain time of the day and this certain income demographic and so forth. If you start to mix in all these different products, each one's going to perform at a macro level so differently. They're not going to be as efficiently on a micro level be able to make those adjustments that I was telling you about, where they can find a specific hour, where on a specific hour on a specific device, things are really hot and that you should be bidding way more during that time because you're going to get, it's worth it to bid more, basically. You mix in all those different types of products, the algorithm's not going to be very efficient, and it may not ever be able to figure it out truly. Realistically, I know obviously they're going to be looking at things on an individual landing page level and an individual ad and keyword level and try to figure it out, even if you had a bunch of mixed up, jumbled up products in one campaign. But it's going to figure it out quicker if you keep the campaigns that are in the same category together in the same campaigns, and you don't put all products in all categories in one campaign. You can just take my advice for that. So as it pertains, I know that's not has anything to do with smart bidding per se too much, but it does in the standpoint that the process works the best for you when you sub-segment your campaigns like that well. And for that matter, if you wanted to go a step further here, different people disagree with me on this, but I agree with having lots of different keywords, not versus a few, because then Google can more granularly adjust the bids on each keyword for you, and as well as you could do this yourself before you transition over to smart bidding. And Google will be able to do a better job, of course, and quicker, being able to do this sub-segmentation of your campaign and figure out, how to actually bid more or less based upon these different opportunities, so to say. Eventually, they'll look at all the search queries for all the search terms and be able to sort it out themselves. But if you have more keywords, they're going to be able to, with less data, get it figured out quicker for you. So I would recommend having more keywords. Instead of having 10 keywords on broad match, have 500 keywords or whatever on exact match. Google will figure out quicker how to run your stuff. Because basically the algorithm's good, but it's all basic just logic stuff. They can't think abstractly about certain things, about how this item really is like this item, because they don't understand at that level. All they understand is, all the keywords in this account seem to perform this way, therefore we should point things this way. Not this item and this item actually has the same result, so therefore we should treat them the same, instead of having to individually test each one. If they understand up front that these two items are similar, then the rules that apply to one, they can automatically apply it to the other before finding out from each one individually, and having data enough for each item individually, how to treat both. And when you have, it's just you're able to do more with quicker with less data. You're getting the results quicker, and you're not needing as much data to get the results as if you had a big jumbled up mess and they got to sort it out by, through, brute force, basically. Every single thing that's in there, how it performs individually, versus you, through your human action, what things should be grouped together so they can draw conclusions about things in an entire group at a time and apply those things that they find about one thing in the group universally to the whole group. So, and that also, of course, applies to your PMax campaigns, i.e., your what are now shopping campaigns essentially, or how to do shopping is with PMax. If you have different categories of items, I mentioned tennis shoes and tennis rackets, how those are so different that I would have those in separate campaigns. That would also apply to PMax. You should have one PMax campaign for tennis rackets, one for tennis shoes, given the buyers of tennis shoes probably perform behave a lot differently. They buy at different times. They have different income demographics that buy a shoe versus buy a racket, and you should have separate products. And then with that, you need separate product feeds, which you can do through adding labels to just all the tennis rackets in your shopping feed. And so then you have one PMax campaign that only promotes rackets, one PMax campaign that only promotes the shoes. Rackets and shoes are not even that different. That's not even going to be as big of a deal if you sell, let's just say you sell house goods and you sell couches and you sell patio furniture. Those are so different, essentially, that you for sure want to have separate search campaigns and then following with that separate PMax campaigns. This is a side note to everything else. As far as to be able to, with the limitations of what machine learning and smart bidding can do for you, how you want to set it up to have the most results you can and as quick as possible. In the end, eventually, the algorithm's going to figure out how to run anything, like I said. Your goal is to get it to figure out as quickly as possible. You'll make money quicker, and of course, in set time, in 1 year, you'll have more money that you've made in 1 year versus the other way. Even though the campaign might actually make the same per month 10 years from now, what it makes per month by 1 year will be a lot different if you just have the things that should be categorized the same in separate campaigns and within those campaigns together by themselves, if you will. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about smart bidding and why it will outperform manual bidding, even though you still use manual bidding up front to keep your campaign in check, and so that, with no data, Google's machine learning algorithm doesn't do a good job at all, essentially. You'll get yourself 10 to 100 conversions, and then you'll try switching over, and you're giving now Google good, a decent amount of data to actually be successful with what they're doing, and of course, take off where you left off on the campaign and what you can actually physically do as a human being. If you liked the video, I would appreciate it if you'd give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Given I have a PPC agency here, which we're sharing actionable information that we use on our clients' campaigns here. We have a few dozen clients that we manage here on any given basis, where we share the active stuff that's working versus not working. You can learn a whole hell of a lot watching this channel about what's the working strategies are out there today without having to make all the mistakes so-called we have to when we test these things out individually, and we're testing out all the stuff all the time. We give you the stuff that works versus doesn't work on this channel basically on a silver platter for you. If you have any questions about anything I covered today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a day or two time. Beyond that, I also have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns the way that I build them for our PPC clients here, in which we have to guarantee our results at our firm. So if you want to know how to do things, the stuff that really works, and you want to see physically how I set stuff up here, stuff that's tested and proven, you can go there and find a lot of great information there. Beyond that, I'll wrap it up with that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in my next video where I come out with another great piece of PPC advice and actionable information for you to be able to make money with your PPC campaigns and be successful with your program. See you later.